Hola de nuevo. Seguimos aquí en Casa SEAT, Barcelona New Economy Week, BNU. Este es el canal Economic Zones. Seguimos viajando, seguimos explorando todas las posibilidades que nos dan las nuevas tecnologías, buscando sinergias, interconectados. Y ahora vamos a conocer las posibilidades y cuáles son los pilares para el futuro de la economía africana. Damos la bienvenida a Luis Miranda, que nos acompaña aquí con nosotros.
Buenos días. Good morning.
Good morning. Él es de la Asociación de Cámaras de Comercio del Mediterráneo, ASCAME, ¿no?
Mucho gusto, sí.
Mucho gusto. Y tenemos la suerte de que nos acompañen los ilustres y expertos dialogantes Robert Ahomka, Alicia Rico, Nadim Ghanem Parés y Edem Adzogenu. Sorry if I didn't say properly your names, okay? Hi,
Okay.
welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Everybody. Thank you.
So,
Okay, you
Todo
give me the
tuyo.
floor?
Sí.
Okay, hello, good morning to everyone. It's a pleasure being today with you. Sorry for the direct if there's any mistake, but we will try to do it as best as possible, okay? I will present very shortly every one of you, and then I will give the floor first to the Deputy Minister, Mr. Robert Ahoma Lindsay, then the Ambassador of Spain in Ghana, Ms. Alicia Rico. Then I will give the floor to Mr. Nadim Ghanem, President of the Spain-Ghana Chamber of Commerce. And finally, I will give the floor to Mr. Edam Adzogenu, Chairman of Africa Champions. So very briefly, I'm going to introduce every one of you, okay? So first, the Honorable Deputy Minister Robert Ahoma Lindsay. He works in the Ministry of Trade and Industry. He's the late policy advisor to the government, trade, industry, and private sector development, with responsibility for the formulation and implementation of policies for the promotion, growth, and development of domestic and international trade and industry. The Ambassador of Spain, Ms. Alicia Rico, she's a diplomat. She has a long experience, has been in different countries. He worked in the embassies of Luxembourg, Kuwait, and Sultanate of Oman. She also served at the permanent representation of Spain to the European Union from 2010 to 2015, as well as in the European External Action Service in Brussels. And she's appointed in Ghana as Ambassador of Spain from 2017. Welcome. Then we have the participation today of the representative, the chairman, the president of the Spain-Ghana Chamber of Commerce, and as I said before, Mr. Edem Adzogenu, chairman of Africa Champions. So I will give the floor right now to the Deputy Minister. So, Mr. Deputy Minister, Honorable Deputy Minister, please go on.
Well, good morning to everybody in Barcelona, here in Ghana, and the rest of the world that are joining us today. First of all, I want to thank you for inviting us to be part of this discussion. I think this is a very, very timely and apt discussion. We live in a very different world today, and it refocused everybody's attention on what is important going forward. I think the title of this section is key: the pillars for the future of Africa's economy. This is a very, very important subject matter today. And I just want to talk briefly about Ghana's focus, our direction, and what is key for our future as we see it, particularly as we look at our economy. Ghana is very similar to many African economies in that its economic structure is basically designed or inherited from the colonial past, where it is structured around the export of raw materials and the import of finished goods. The challenge with that economy, or with that system, or with that structure, is that it is a structure that does not create enough jobs and does not create enough opportunities for a growing population, particularly in our setting where we have a very young population. So the economies, Ghana has had to review its thought process, what our focus is, and the industrial transformation of our economy is at the center of all of our discussion. So when we talk about digital industry, I want to take a step back a little bit and start on industry general, because you will find in most of our economy in Africa, we do not have an industrial base. And so we end up in a situation, the majority of our industry is services sector. We don't have a manufacturing sector. In Ghana, it's less than 10% of GDP. And this is something we want to change. To address that, the government of Ghana has instigated a very ambitious 10-point industrial transformation agenda. I will just very quickly state what those 10 points are so we get a sense of what it is we're seeking to do. Point number one is we start off by analyzing the current structure of our economy to see what are the impediments to the existing industries, and then look for ways to address that. And later on, I can go into a bit more details what those ways are, but includes a stimulus injection or plan to support industry. Point number two, we have something called our one district, one factory policy. At the essence, what that means is that in Ghana's 265 districts, we wish to add value to the natural resource base on each of those districts to create industry and jobs. So whether it is turning clay into ceramic tiles, or whether it's turning pineapple into juice, 265 of those. That's point number two. Point number three looks at what we call our strategic anchor industries. So while the one district, one factory is designed to create jobs and opportunity at the rural level, to address things like rural-urban migration, to address the need to provide opportunities in each of our districts, the strategic anchor industry is designed to propel us to the next level. So there are 10 points there. I'm not going to go through all of them now, but there are 10 points there, but let me give two as an example. One of them is an integrated automobile industry. There, what we are saying is that we wish to attract industry along the value chain in the automobile sector. And already we have 6 of them coming in. Volkswagen recently just rolled out its first few vehicles. Toyota is coming, Sinotruk is coming, Suzuki, etc. So, but it's along the value chain that offers huge opportunity for SMEs to get part of the value chain. The second one within the strategic anchor industries is our integrated aluminium industry. We have huge bauxite deposits. Our interest is to go along the value chain to provide business opportunities. That also links to the automobile industry and other industries. So just 2 examples. The other one I want to just share is what we call our business regulatory reform. We live in a competitive world today. To attract businesses, private capital from outside Ghana, and to encourage businesses within Ghana, we must have a regulatory regime that is targeted, that is appropriate, and support our objectives. So we have a program of what we call a business regulatory review. In essence, along the lines that is important to us, along the industrial lines, we look at what the regulations at each of those points and ensure those regulations are appropriate, are international best practices, and support the policy direction of the government. I'm not going to go through all 10, but just quickly on the one more I want to talk about is the importance of export. And in that case, I want to look specifically at the Africa Continental Free Trade. We realize that as a country of 30-odd million people, but a continent of 1.2 billion with a market of over $3 trillion, opportunity is huge within both our sub-region and also continental-wide. So a key aspect of our development for our future economy is making sure we have greater intra-regional and Africa trade. So the businesses that we set up today must have the right quality, must have the right systems in place to ensure that we meet the demands of the consumer in Ghana, rest of West Africa, Africa, and beyond. So let me just rest there, and perhaps then engage some more discussion as we go on.
Mr. Deputy Minister, I think we are running short of time, so if you could finish with your presentation.
I'm done. I'm done.
Okay, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I will give right now the floor to the Ambassador of Spain in Ghana, Ms. Alicia Rico. So please, Ambassador.
Thank you, Luis. I would also like to thank Barcelona Zona Franca for this invitation and to greet the Honorable Deputy Minister of Trade and Industry, Dr. Adam, and Nadim Ghanem from the Spain-Ghana Chamber of Commerce. I wanted to start this brief intervention by highlighting what I think is the most basic pillar of the future of the African economy. And that is, I think the Honorable Minister conveyed it in his intervention, and that is the new reality or the new change of mindset there is in Africa. I have the privilege of being posted to a country such as Ghana, which is actually a reference of this new empowerment, I would say, or the sense of, for once, really taking the responsibility and the ownership of the economic transformation of the continent in their hands. That is, the Ghana Beyond Aid vision is obviously an important symbol of this new mindset, but also the African Free Trade Continental Agreement. It has been said that it is really a turning point. It will not be achieved overnight, that is obvious, but it is a demonstration of the thrive there is in the African leaders of really embarking in line with the Agenda 2063 of the African Union in a path of growth and prosperity and of creating jobs and wealth for the population. Now, it's obvious that there are many challenges in the continent. Some countries are still striving with conflict, with political instability, not to mention terrorism. And in these circumstances, it is hard to really concentrate on investments, growth, and prosperity. But there are also facts and evidence that the continent is growing. And since 2000 until 2018, Sub-Saharan Africa has been growing at an average as a continent, as a region, of 4.6%. And some countries, such as Ghana, from 2016 to 2018, with this government at almost 6%. If it hadn't been for the pandemic, which has not affected the African countries as much as Europe, actually, it would have been even higher. Out of the 10 fastest growing economies in the world, 6 are African countries. We all know that the continent has abundant resources, 10% of the oil reserves, 40% of oil, 80% of platinum. It has a huge population, a fast-growing and young population, 1.2 billion, and in 2050 would be 2.5, most probably. And it has a strong entrepreneurial and innovative youth. And lastly, it also has embarked, as the Honorable Minister conveyed, into a path of industrialization, that is, of adding value to the raw materials, to the commodities, what it has been exporting until now, and creating value chains in the region. That is, to not only export products that will actually enrich other countries, but to add value through manufacturing in the continent.
Excuse me, Ambassador.
So,
you are practically in time, so if you could start finishing,
yeah.
thank you.
I would just like to finish to say that this has created a paradigm shift in the relations of the European Union with Africa, and of course of Spain with our African partners. And with the third Plan Africa, our strategy for foreign policy with these countries, what we want to do is to really create a true partnership where we have common economic interests and to really boost investments in Africa. This is the most important thing now. Investments, and it has to be very private sector led. Now, the African countries have to do their share of creating the right conditions for investment and reducing risks and finding the right balance with local content legislation and removing all types of barriers. And we have to try to also integrate the two continents and also, why not, create value chains between the two. In the event when Africa becomes an economic regional bloc, it would eventually also be able to sign a free trade agreement with Europe as a bloc as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. Thank you to you. I will give right now the floor to Mr. Nadim Ganem, the president of the Spanish Ghana Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much for this event. After the ambassador and the honorable minister's speech, there's not a lot of information I can give about the region, so I'm going to be very brief and very direct to the businesses. we at the Spanish Chamber of Spain-Ghana Chamber of Commerce, we are here to serve and represent the SMEs mainly, and also the big corporate businesses that are in Ghana and that are interested to come from Spain to Ghana, or to develop their the business from Spain into Ghana. Today, we really would like to encourage all sorts of businesses to come to Ghana and establish themselves in the country to develop the whole sub-region. Spain is going through hard times, but Ghana, we're really lucky and we're touching wood. The COVID crisis has affected, of course, globally, but Ghana in particular has really continued business, and although it has taken very strong measures, it has been able to allow us to continue in our business. Today, Ghana is an open country for investors and for trade. It also can serve the whole region in various sectors. In manufacturing, as the Honorable Minister has insisted, we are really trying to be increase and strengthen that sector. Today, we can talk about the agri-food business, where there's a huge need, as the minister was saying, to convert a pineapple into juice and to sell it, but also we don't need to go as far as that. We can go into repackaging, diluting, and then starting on the plantation-wise and then developing into this. But in addition to that, it's in all sectors. For example, in construction, there are so many techniques that could come from Spain and help in the construction sector here. Not necessarily as a construction company, but as construction engineering techniques. In energy, the same. In services like design, industrial design, or digital design. In manufacturing, you can go from basic raw material conversion, let's say from bauxite to aluminium, then into making profiles for aluminium windows, etc. Then also the whole automobile industry that is looking for a whole ecosystem that is needed around it. Spain is a huge player in that. We know the whole area of Aragon, Zaragoza, how strong they are in this, from the manufacturing of parts and other things that could be done in Ghana and developed in Ghana. Also, in terms of education, which is one sector that many of us don't mention, Ghana is obsessed about education. A Ghanaian would sell everything he has to make sure he gives the best education to his children. And every Ghanaian, while working, is taking courses to learn in education. Spain is a very big player in this when it comes to schools, universities, technical schools, and also on postgraduate levels. And there's a big opportunity for Spain in that. And we also know that many of the schools in Spain are doing this in English, and that could be easily translated in Ghana here. Today, the advantages of Ghana is you can find talent. You have the whole ECOWAS system that allows you to trade in the whole big area. Security-wise, it's quite the most secure, I could say, in the whole region. And I'm saying this from my family background. We have been here for 3 generations. I've been here. My family has been here since the 30s, so even before independence, and we have seen all that. We also want to explain to the Spaniards that this is a cash economy. It's not a credit economy. After the COVID crisis, 3 weeks after the lockdown, the economy started moving again because it's not based on credit. It's a cash economy, and establishing businesses here or trading with Ghana is not going to require a lot of credit, but on the other side, you have a big challenge, which is the financing challenge. Ghana is still in need of proper financing services and also cheaper financing for companies to come in. Thank you, and that was a brief explanation.
Thank you very much. Right now, I give the floor to the CEO of Afro-Champion. Yes, Mr. Dedham, please.
So thank you very much. I must also add my voice by saying that in addition to Ghana blazing the trail for political independence on the continent, we've also become a very powerful incubator for economic integration and driving the economic transformation on the continent. We're currently hosting the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat, and Afro Champions is also headquartered in Ghana. Afro Champions is an embodiment of the private sector stakeholders and multinationals who have played a phenomenon in the last 20 years by the emergence of African multinationals whose cross-border operations are integrating Africa. We have companies that have 25 operations in different countries. You have countries, banks, you have all of these companies who in the last 20, 25 years didn't exist, but through policies of governments in Africa have birthed the emergence of African multinationals whose cross-border operations are breaking the barriers to economic integration on the continent. And we're beginning to see the emergence of companies that are beginning to compete global. The likes of Dangote Group, the likes of MTN, the likes of EcoBank, among others. We think that there is opportunity for more of these companies, and the CFTA gives the opportunity for that, and also gives the opportunity for SMEs to be able to ride on the back of these multinationals to be able to be globally competitive. What the Deputy Minister spoke about gives grounds for also the emergence of assembly plants on the continent that can also become competitive. So we can begin to see our African Toyotas, our African Samsungs, among others. Now, the reason why this is important is that the partnerships that the ambassador talked about can only be possible when we have access to bigger markets, capacity to do R&D, and be able to be competitive. We think that the pillars for economic transformation requires these foundations. So what Afro Champions has done in partnership with the African Union is to create what we are calling the $1 trillion framework that looks at Agenda 2063, which is where Africa wants to be by 2063, and the next 10 years of what we need to do to be able to get there, and how to get the continent integrating itself in a real way. And that framework looks at the kind of the framework within which we need to put in place, but not just letting governments doing it by themselves, or private sector also doing things by themselves, but working together so that the benefits of the CFT are not inimical to the interests of the private sector, who are supposed to be that engine to drive that economic integration. And that's the role that Afro Champions is doing now. That framework looks at things like legal, investment. There's a lot of money out there looking for opportunities in Africa, but without a framework that enables not just private sector companies in Africa, but foreign multinationals who, by virtue of the investments in Africa, are going to ensure that they can integrate the continent through their cross-border operations and help Africa become competitive. So that's why Afro Champions is driving this public-private partnership to ensure that the private sector, SMEs, also benefit, and foreign multinationals also benefit. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time. You've been a very short presentation, but it's fine. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Edem. Well, right now, after the presentation of our four speakers, we have a moment for some questions and answers. So first, I will begin with the Honorable Deputy Minister. We had some questions for him, especially two questions regarding the two government interventions, key government interventions. The first, I would like to ask him if he could explain a bit more of the One District, One Factory, which I think is one of the key government interventions in Ghana. And secondly, the second question, I would like to ask him if he could explain very shortly what are the characteristics of the Ghana business regulatory reforms in terms of digital economy. Thank you. Just 2-3 minutes, please.
Thank you very much for that. In terms of One District, One Factory, it truly offers huge opportunities for partnership and for SME development. At its simplest, as we said, Ghana has 265 districts. I think in Spain, you have a very similar, this is where we have our mayor, so the equivalent of that. In each one of these districts, there are natural resources. And what we want to do, as all the previous speakers have said, is add value to them. So we grow starch, we grow pineapples, we have clay, we have everything resource rich. We want to add value at the point of the resource location. And so that gives opportunity for businesses across Ghana. And the technology, the know-how of a number of the Spanish businesses, the partnership working with Ghanaian businesses to form opportunities, then we can develop. So that is the one district, one factory. About 45% is agro-processing, and then the rest covers all aspects, including poultry, animal husbandry, you name it. Last year, Ghana imported $1.4 billion of rice. Can you imagine? And we have so much land. We have 6.5 million hectares of arable land that we're not. So that gives you an idea of the option. This is just Ghana. Now, sub-region West Africa, we have another 400 million people, let alone the rest of the continent, which starts from January next year. In terms of business regulation, and just on that, in the digital aspect of that, business regulatory reform, and also the digital aspect of the one district, one factory, we have embarked on a very aggressive fintech system where we have what we call mobile interoperability. In effect, what we've done is that we have laws in Ghana that make mobile money and banking accounts seamless in terms of transfer of money and doing business. And the objective of that is to extend the bankability. Just quickly on the digital business regulatory reform. So what is it we are doing? For instance, one of the aspects of the business regulatory reform is very much like EU. Ghana now has all the business regulation and all the key sectors of the economy on a digital platform that allows businesses to go online and check, if I want to engage in X, what do I need to do? Point number 2, when we want to put regulation, again, on the digital platform, we have what we call a regulatory impact assessment, where before government introduces new regulation, we have to go through this system to get feedback, to know the impact of that in terms of what has engaged. The third aspect I want to talk about, on the port operation, logistics, key. If we want to bring in some raw materials, some know-how, and then export, we must make sure we have a very efficient port system. So the digitalization of our port, trade facilitation, is a key aspect of that as well. So just quickly, a couple of points there just for further discussion.
Okay, thank you very much. Right now I have some questions for Ms. Alicia Rico, Ambassador of Spain in Ghana. She talked about the need for building up a true partnership, a great partnership between the European Union and Africa, and also about the potentialities of the continent. So right now, talking about Spain and the potentialities of our country there in Ghana, I have one question. The first one is, how can Spain be more present in Ghana? And the second one is, why has Ghana become a reference in the continent? Thank you.
Thank you. As I said before, I think that Africa, as our Minister of Foreign Affairs, European Union and Cooperation recently said and stated on the occasion of the Day of Africa, the African Day, Africa is a priority in our external policy, and our strategy towards this continent is, in which I mentioned the third Plan Africa, is to have more visibility and establish a true partnership. Now, I think we can't do this with the public sector alone. We need to bring in all the other actors, and that includes the private sector. So I think it's very important that today in this panel, we have representatives of the public sector and the private sector, both Ghanaian and Spanish. Nadim represents the Spanish companies in Ghana. This is a private association, but we're working with them through the embassy with our economic and commercial office. We have a commercial counselor. We are promoting and giving information for the Spanish companies to be able to do business in Ghana and to bring investments. Now, it's true that our companies, which are very competitive worldwide, have still, maybe because they see more risk, have still don't have the presence that they have, for example, in South America or the Middle East, in sub-Saharan Africa. But in a country such as Ghana, I think that it is important to open the door and to give as much information as possible so that they can try and see what kind of business it would be able to do in this country. And lastly, why is Ghana a reference? I think Ghana is a reference, as Dr. Adam mentioned before. It was the first country to become independent. It has always been a reference in terms of Pan-Africanism and regional integration. If I'm not mistaken, Honorable Minister, I think it was the first after Kenya, the second after Kenya, or the first to ratify the African Free Trade Continental Agreement. It has a secretariat here. It has the most important thing, it's a very stable democracy, and this is a basic factor for investments. On the summit of December, they will hold their 8th elections under the 4th Constitution, the 4th Republic since 1992, peaceful elections. And it has a very open society, and it's working on making business even easier and on having the right regulatory framework in order to encourage more investments to come in.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador. Mr. Ambassador. Rena, I have a question for Mr. Nadim Ghanem, the president of the Spanish-Ghana Chamber of Commerce. Well, following this topic of the Spanish companies there and the big possibilities for Spanish companies, you explained during your presentation different sectors. You talk about the possibilities in manufacturing, agri-food. You also spoke about the industrial and digital design. But I really would like to ask you right now, what kind of Spanish firms we have in Ghana? And what kind of firms do you think that there's room for them in Ghana?
Okay, today, thank you for the question. Today in Ghana, we have several companies from Spain, like let's say, you could say from Coca-Cola to Gallina Blanca. So all these are companies in the beverage and food, from representatives of Don Garcia Carrion, which we were talking about in the juice business, so juice, food. Then we have in construction, we have Eurofinsa, and also we have in services like Amadeus for the travel industry, and many other sectors. Now, the companies available that are here are operating, are growing and developing, and the challenge, and they have the development and their business scope is not only left to Ghana, is in the whole sub-region. So most of the companies that I know are selling and manufacturing, or even having their hubs in Accra to sell in the whole sub-region around it. I hope this answers the question. I don't know if there's...
Well, yes, thank you. You also spoke about the building sector, construction. What would you say to the big Spanish constructors that maybe suffer a lot during the crisis, and they could see, as they saw Latin America right now, maybe they could see the African market as a huge possibility? What kind of advice could you tell them?
Well, in the construction sector, my family has been in construction for the past 70 years here in the infrastructure business. We've built most of the roads in the north of Ghana. And I would advise that they come with advanced technologies, they come with financing also, it's very important. And I would also advise them to establish themselves and think and integrate themselves into the country and the way the economy is, not just to think of a company that is just coming from Spain, bringing the whole knowledge and wants to act as if it's in Spain here. They will need a lot of flexibility and a lot of follow-up.
Okay,
and the Spanish Chamber of Commerce will be here to assist them, which is our mission on all levels.
Okay, thank you very much. Right now, one question for Mr. Redem, as representative of the private sector in the panel. Thank you very much for your intervention. You spoke about the big possibilities, huge potentialities of the private sector in Africa, and the kind of links that you've been carrying on during the last years with African Union and some other institutions. And I really would like to ask you, from your experience as a private sector person, because companies normally want that private people coming from the private sector also give them some advice. What kind of advice, according to your experience and the big future for the African continent, would you say to the Spanish entrepreneurs, the Spanish companies? What would you tell them as an African entrepreneur?
I think for a continent that has a massive population of youth, close to 60% of the population of the continent below 30 years, you must have to believe and admit that this must be the center in the next 10 to 20 years of the freshest ideas of innovation and resilience and commitment. And the governments in Africa are uniting around creating and enabling the kind of enabling environment that will enable investors coming in to harmonize around things like standards, regulatory environment, and also financial integration and inclusion in a way that will ensure that value add takes place on the continent and that the continent can be the center for not only the continental growth but also global growth. And now also with what the African Union, the Africa Center for Disease and Control, working with countries, we've seen how Africa is also creating safe bubbles during this crisis with COVID, to be able to create, using technology, mostly innovated by Africans, to create safe bubbles which we're able to travel across the continent. So there's a lot of potential for growth, but we see again within the framework of the Continental Free Trade Area that is opportunity now for companies or investors who are looking for access to multiple markets, looking at this 1.2 billion market of people, to be able to invest, but not have to worry about going through different regulatory environments, different standards regimes, different financial, in order to be able to move capital, goods, and services across the continent. So there's a lot of hope there that the CFT offers us, but also many opportunities in the sectors that other speakers have already spoken about, in agriculture, in healthcare, in infrastructure, because, and by infrastructure, we're talking about digital infrastructure, we're talking about energy, because goods and value add that needs to be produced. And now COVID has actually even shown us that countries have to also regionalize and also domesticate a lot of their supply chains. A lot of how the continent used to operate was moving raw materials to the ports and out of the continent. Now the continent has a vested interest in making sure that a lot of that stays within. That provides massive opportunity for investments in many sectors as far as industrialization is concerned. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you to you.
And the last advice again is that they should work closely with governments, because the idea of private sector that you can operate in silos doesn't work. Private sector has a lot of capacity that it can bring to support government to help in this economic transformation process. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you to you. Well, I think we've been very efficient with time. We are okay with the time. We went very quickly. I don't know if we have also some questions coming from the public. I'm just waiting for a second.
No problem. I do have one or two comments to make also.
Okay, we had some questions, but I think, no?
If you have any
other questions? Okay. Well, no, I just covered some possible questions attending the characteristics of our speaker. I don't know if you want that I make the wrap up, or do you want to add something? No? Okay. Then thank you. I don't know if any of the speakers before the wrap up, you want to say something else? There was something that you really wanted to say and maybe we cut you, or you want to add something? Just please.
Yeah,
please, thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
If you would just permit me.
Yes, of course.
I remember very well, 25 years ago, China. China was an economy that was emerging. I remember very well at that time, we thought about so many of the challenges, but the opportunity sometimes didn't come clear. Africa today is by far the next generation's movement in terms of opportunity. 1.2 billion people, 3 trillion. What Africa now understands, and I may come to Ghana, is that our future must be based on private sector-led market economy supported by government. Now, that is a huge statement to make, but that also offers great opportunities. So when we look at the future, the Ghanaian government and Africa's government, with things like the Continental Free Trade private sector, is focused on making sure we provide the environment for the private sector to grow. To me, this offers huge opportunity for Spanish businesses. What we lack often in Africa is a technology that many Spanish companies have. That technology needs to be adapted for the working environment in Ghana, but that offers partnership opportunities. Now, today, we are fortunate. So let me give a very practical example. If I was going to set up a new mobile telephony system, I would not go for 1G. I would go for 5G day one. So now we have the opportunity of getting the best the world has to offer from technology, marrying in a partnership with Ghanaian businesses in an environment where we have just in ECOWAS, 400 million people. The only difference is their purchasing power. That's why I always give opportunity of China. If their purchasing power increases, as it has been, as His Excellency said earlier on, we've been growing of close to 6-7% a year. Had it not been COVID, we would have gone even faster. In 2018, Ghana was the fastest growing economy in the world. And actually, 6 out of the 10 fastest growing economy in the world are African. So when that purchasing power increases, as it will do, the consumer-led that you've seen elsewhere in the world will become a reality. They want a new car, they want to buy more clothes, they want to buy buildings, they want better roads, government will get better revenue. The model is clear. But what is very clear from government's perspective, and I can speak here on behalf of Ghana, is that it is private sector-led, government-supported. We do not want to go through the path of building great, big, huge white elephants. Industry is best run by private sector, and the government's role is to focus on the environment to promote that. Technology can help us. We respect, and I repeat, we respect intellectual property rights. So when you bring your technology to Ghana, we will respect that. We have our laws here that guides investment. You will know they're very liberal. The chamber can really help you in that in terms of where it is. We have an embassy in Madrid, I know, that can support you. But we inspect those property rights. So when you are thinking of coming to Ghana, do not think you are going to lose your hard-earned investment in terms of technology. Bring it. Partner with the businesses here and let's develop it. Let's create a win-win. Because the 30 million Ghanaians, I can assure you, when Volkswagen starts and puts an assembly plant here, Suzuki, Nissan, Toyota, Sinotra are all going to put those plants here. There's a reason why they're doing that. And it's because they know in 20 years' time, the purchasing power will grow for opportunities. So my invitation is, please, Spanish companies, come. We are ready for you. We're open for business.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Minister. Yeah?
I think this kind of dialogue gives us the opportunity to know each other. So it's so good, don't you think? Thank you very much for your dialogue here. It's been a real pleasure to listen to all of you. Robert, Alicia, Nadim, Edem y Luis por acompañarnos aquí. Thank you very much. Gracias también, bye. Gracias también a todos nuestros patrocinadores, Servihabitat, Adif, SEAT, por patrocinarnos, por hacer posible este tipo de diálogos tan interesantes. Esperamos que os hayan sido muy constructivos y edificantes. ¿Y qué más? Pues después de esta pausa publicitaria, nos vamos a la estación de Francia. Seguimos el viaje, ¿eh? Y vamos a estar en un BINU, una charla inspiracional, esta vez de la mano de Elsa Punset, ni más ni menos. Os esperamos. Nosotros volvemos aquí en Economic Zones después de esta charla, ¿vale? Hasta luego.